Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and today we are ranking all of the films I saw in theaters for October 2018. This is the latest in my monthly series in which I rank each new release that I was able to catch in theaters for every month of the year. And while it felt like this was a pretty solid month for films and that I had seen quite a bit, I guess from vacations and just being generally busy with Halloween and getting this new video ready for the coming month, I only ended up seeing 10 movies for the month of October, which I think is the lightest load I've had all year so far since starting this series. Just a quick disclaimer, this is just my personal ranking list. This is just my personal opinion, and this ranking basically just reflects which films I enjoyed watching the most. They're not necessarily which films I think are the technically best or anything of the sort. It is just how I feel about the films as a person. Without further ado, let's stop all this jabbering and just get into the countdown. Starting off with 10th placed, aka dead last, we have Hunter Killer. This was an easy last place for me. Hunter Killer just didn't do anything extraordinary. It didn't even do anything great. It was mediocre to meh, to just bad. Gerard Butler continues to just repeat and repeat and recycle all of his same films over and over. It's the same generic action, weird like patriotism that is borderline nationalism, and then it's added over the top of ho-hum directing, a terrible script, and a movie that committed the ultimate crime for a Gerard Butler action film. Didn't have much action, and it was really boring. This one was a struggle to get through without falling asleep, so that gives it a pretty solid 10th place rank. At number 9, I have mid-90s. But it seems I am the only one who just didn't really like this film. It did not do it for me. And while I appreciated Jonah Hill's voice as a director and his technical skill as a director in terms of filmmaking, I couldn't get on board with almost anything this film was trying to convey. If you want to see my full thoughts on why I wasn't a fan of mid-90s, go ahead and check out my review. But I couldn't connect with these characters. I couldn't get on board with what everyone around our main character was doing, influencing him, and just the whole atmosphere of it wasn't relatable to me, and wasn't enjoyable for me to sit through. So that's why mid-90s is all the way down at number 9, though I know plenty of you would probably have it way higher on your lists. At number 8, I have Venom. I'm going to be honest, 8 and 9 were pretty close in the ranking. I kind of swapped them back and forth. Because ultimately, when it comes to filmmaking, the lows are much, much lower. And actually, the highs are probably lower than the lows within mid-90s. It's just not as well made and well crafted a film, not as sophisticated in most ways. However, the highs of Venom were a lot more fun than anything I had in mid-90s. So the highs and the fun factor outweighed it for me, and I put Venom in at number 8. Honestly, this script is complete garbage. It's just such a mess. And I think the first half of this movie is also just kind of like a boring mess. All of the background characters were terrible, and the CGI was a big miss. However, when we get those moments between Venom and Eddie Brock, they are a lot of fun. Plus, the character design of Venom himself is awesome, and I really just enjoyed our main character. There's some really great, effective comedy in here. There's some fun action when you can see and tell what's going on. And that dynamic really just saved the film. So while I think Venom overall isn't a really good movie, I still had fun watching it, so it makes it to number 8. At number 7, I have Goosebumps 2, A Haunted Halloween. I thought this was a solid sequel to the Jack Black film Goosebumps. I think it's pretty much on par with the first one for me personally. I enjoyed our young characters. There were some really nice character designs, in particular those witches. I thought their design was so cool. And Slappy, the dummy, was so good in this film. He is definitely the highlight throughout the movie. He has some good laughs, he has some good scares actually, and he worked as a really solid villain. Yeah, the CGI is dodgy. The story is more or less pretty generic, and it doesn't break any ground on really any subject. But I thought it was a serviceable enough film for younger kids who might get scared watching The Superior, a house with a clock in its walls. But solid, fun Halloween family entertainment. At number 6, I have Halloween. The latest in the long-lasting horror franchise. Jamie Lee Curtis, once again, returns to the franchise that made her the ultimate scream queen. And my goodness, am I happy she came back, because her and her character Laurie Strode were the highlights. That development they gave to her, that badassery they gave to her, all of it, everything about Laurie Strode in this film worked fantastically. And Michael Myers is back in full form. It is not this weird backstory, like sob story, getting into his mind, giving him reasoning that we got with the Rob Zombie remakes. It is just pure unbridled evil in this film, and it just works so amazingly well. His look is great, the kills are great, the one-shots are wonderful, that score is fantastic. Unfortunately, the characters do a lot of stupid stuff. Like a lot of stupid stuff, and fall into so many horror tropes. And then there's that doctor who almost comes this close to torpedoing the entire film. He's so bad, and those are the reasons it doesn't have enough juice to cross over into my top 5. But it's a good, solid slasher film, and the second best Halloween film of the entire franchise for me. So, it's number 6. And now that we're hitting the top 5, we have 5 really, really strong films that I loved watching. So kicking off, number 5, we have First Man. Damien Chazelle comes back with his first non-music related feature film. And it is a beauty. I just spoke about a score with Halloween. Well, Damien Chazelle brings quite the score with Justin Hurwitz right here for First Man. It is absolutely outstanding. And if I'm being honest, that score is what holds up the film's emotional heft. It is what wills this film into being something that stirs you on an emotional level. I think Claire Foy is absolutely fantastic in this film. Ryan Gosling is so strong in this movie. And Damien Chazelle is back with another beautiful directing job. The visuals are also very strong in the movie. So what keeps First Man to number 5 is that we are telling a much more human story. So I think in that aspect, we don't get the big space epic that maybe we were promised, maybe we were hoping for a little bit. So when we've had so many space films over the last few years, it felt a little bit small. And I think that's on purpose. But when we come back down to Earth, this is all about a human story. It's all about Neil Armstrong. And while I understand the decision to close him off as hard as we do in this film, there is a slight disconnect with the character that makes the emotional resonance a little bit harder to break through to audiences. But overall, I do think First Man was a really, really good film, and it is number 5. Maybe it would have been number 1 in a less competitive month. At number 4, I have Beautiful Boy. This might be a little bit controversial to put this over First Man, but personally, I liked it more. This movie did hit me emotionally. It really got to me. Because even though the script is by far the weakest portion of this film, it is still effective in translating the emotion and the toll that addiction takes on everyone involved. But of course, the shining bright spots of this film are Steve Carell and Timothée Chalamet. Their performances alone are some of the best performances I've seen all year. Timothée Chalamet in particular gives an absolutely stellar acting performance in this film. He's asked to do so much with this role, yet it never feels like acting. It always feels genuine, it feels raw, it feels real, and it cuts you straight to the bone. Steve Carell is asked to do so much, and his performance is absolutely amazing as well, as are all the performances. Plus, I feel that this film really pulled back any sort of pretense. I think it was really honest, gritty, real, and as I said, emotionally impactful. What keeps Beautiful Boy from breaking into that top 3 is that I do think we have a little bit of a mishmash because we're combining 2 different autobiographies. We're combining 2 different stories here, and the time is very much divided to the point where our title character, the beautiful boy of Timothée Chalamet's character, is the secondary actor. I think he should be going for supporting. So it's a little bit odd. I wish maybe we had focused in just a bit more and centered our film more instead of having this dual main focus of a storyline, but I still think it's successful in what it aims to do, and I think it was a really good film. At number 3, I have A Star is Born. Speaking of 2 stellar acting performances, Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga both hit it out of the park in this film. They are so good. I don't know that I've seen Bradley Cooper much better than this in his entire career, but I certainly haven't seen him this good in some time. Plus, who knew he could sing so well? That voice was so good. And his directing, for a first-time director, absolutely fantastic. Then we go over to Lady Gaga, who, of course, she sounded wonderful in this film. Her voice just soared in this movie. But her acting chops, I think, are legit. I think she definitely solidified herself as a strong actress. She was able to just feel real and vulnerable and open, and I thought she was so good in this movie. Plus, the music is absolutely amazing. I rushed out to listen to this music. I bought the soundtrack as soon as it was available. The music is just absolutely amazing. Plus, it also hits you in the feels. I think it is very successful at getting to that emotional core of the story. It doesn't break new grounds, as you would expect with a third remake of a film. You can call where this film is going to end up some ways out. It doesn't really take chances when it comes to story. It doesn't really take chances anywhere, but it is a very well executed, safe, solid, really good film. So, A Star is Born rises to number 3. At number 2, I have The Hate You Give. I'm shocked that this made it all the way up to number 2 because those trailers, they didn't look so good. But this film is fantastic. I loved this movie. First of all, Russell Hornsby had better be pushed by the studio for Best Supporting Actor. His performance was amazing. It was everything that this father was as a person and as a character, just embodied and personified fully. Amanda Stenberg is also amazing in this film. I think that she has been a good actress in all the movies she's been in. It's just, unfortunately, she's been in some pretty crappy movies throughout her young career, but finally she's giving something that has the potential of her talent, and she runs with it. I thought she was really, really good. Regina Hall is always good. Common was really solid here, but of course the subject matter and the script are the shining stars of the film, and this film handles the subject matter expertly well. It doesn't feel preachy. It doesn't feel like slanted dogma. It feels like a real, authentic look at an issue that runs rampant across the United States currently. That is a hot button issue of the moment. And it handles it so well. It is deep. It is emotional. It will get you riled up. It will hit you in them feels. And when this film soars, it soars higher than most films I've seen in 2018. Now, unfortunately, there are some negatives. Some of those classmates were very on the nose and very straightforward, exactly what you anticipate them to be. And we have a lot going on with that white high school that really detracts from the film. But literally everything outside of that I thought worked fantastically well. This is definitely one that is in contention for my top 10 of the year thus far, and it still only got to number 2 of this month. So what did I rank higher? Well, at number 1 for me is Bad Times at the El Royale. Now, I loved this film. I know that it's getting somewhat mixed reviews. I mean, it still has a 73% on Rotten Tomatoes, but fans that have gone out to see it, some have loved it, others have been meh toward it, and some have actually hated it, which I'm like, whoa, what? What movie did you watch? And there's been a bunch of hoopla made about the long runtime of this film. But honestly, that didn't bother me even in the slightest. I thought maybe it got slightly repetitive with showing the same events through different viewpoints, but this was a great movie. I thought it unraveled so well, and this script is intricate, it's interesting, and I thought it was completely captivating. I've heard complaints that it slows down in that third act and kind of stalls out. Again, I did not personally have that same problem. I found the problems and the new villainy that Chris Hemsworth's character brought to the film to be very intriguing. It kept me interested, it kept me glued to the screen. So I was completely entertained, and I didn't need a mystery throughout the entirety of the film to keep me there. And part of that is, I think all of our characters are so good. Every single one of these actors does a stellar job. Cynthia Erivo has made her mark known in Hollywood off of this film. She was absolutely fantastic. Jeff Bridges is the best, most layered performance I've seen given from him in some time. Dakota Johnson is really good here. John Hamm does what he does. Lewis Pullman is somewhat of a revelation in this film. I thought he was really good. And then Chris Hemsworth just knocks it out of the park. I mean, he was so fantastic in this movie. Honestly, I had very few complaints when it came to Bad Times at the El Royale. The music was fantastic, the script was interesting and intricate and wonderful, the performances were fantastic, and I was kept glued to that theater screen. From the moment it started all the way through the long runtime to the very end, I thought it was absolutely stellar. So that's why I rank Bad Times at the El Royale as my top pick for October 2018. So that is my list, how I ranked the films I saw in theaters this month. What did you think of how I ranked these films, and how would you rank the movies you saw in October 2018? Let me know either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did and you like this series, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on our latest videos. I love you all so much for your support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!